Topic now is money and how the candidates would spend it. We'll turn the questioning over to Kimberly Strassel of the Wall Street Journal and Major Garrett of CBS News. Kim?
Mr. Trump.
Yes.
You have made a lot of promises, and you have also, you're the only candidate who has said he would not touch entitlements. The Committee for a Responsible Federal Budget has estimated that your ideas would cost an additional $12 to $15 trillion over the next 10 years, and that we would have to have annual economic growth of anywhere from 7.7% to 9% annually to pay for them. Are you proposing more than you can actually deliver, at least not without big deficits?
First of all, when you say I'm the only candidate, if you listen to the Democrats, they want to do many things to Social Security, and I want to do them on its own merit. But you listen to them, what they want to do to Social Security, none of these folks are getting elected, okay, whether they can do it or not. I'm going to save Social Security. I'm going to bring jobs back from China. I'm going to bring jobs back from Mexico and from Japan, where they're all, every country throughout the world. Now Vietnam, that's the new one. They are taking our jobs, they're taking our wealth, they're taking our base, and you and I have had this discussion. We're going to make our economy strong again. I'm lowering taxes. We have $2.5 trillion offshore. We have $2.5 trillion that I think is actually $5 trillion, because the government has no idea when they say 2.5. They have no idea what they're doing or saying, as they've proven very well. We're going to bring that money back. You take a look at what happened just this week. China bought the Chicago Stock Exchange. China, a Chinese company. A carrier is moving to Mexico, air conditioning company. Not only the ones I talk about all the time, Nabisco and Ford, and they're all moving out. We have an economy that last quarter, GDP didn't grow. It was flat. We have to make our economy grow again. We're dying. This country is dying, and our workers are losing their jobs. And you're going to lose yourself. I'm the only one going to save Social Security, believe me.
Okay, but how would you actually do that? Can I ask you? Because right now, Social Security
you have tremendous
and Medicare,
waste. I'll tell you,
they take up 2/3 of the federal budget.
You have tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse. That we're taking care of. That we're taking care of. It's tremendous. We have in Social Security right now thousands and thousands of people that are over 106 years old. Now, you know they don't exist. They don't exist. There's tremendous waste, fraud, and abuse, and we're going to get it. But we're not going to hurt the people who've been paying into Social Security their whole life, and then all of a sudden they're supposed to get less. We're bringing our jobs back. We're going to make our economy great again.
Senator Cruz. John mentioned this is about dollars and cents. We also want to talk about economic growth and wage growth. You have proposed a consumption tax. You call it a flat tax. Some analysts compare it more akin to a value-added tax. From a perspective of economic growth and building wages, how does that work? And how would you address the long-standing conservative concern that something approaching a value-added tax will be used to constantly increase those rates to pay for future government spending and become an escalator of taxation, not of growth?
Well, let me say at the outset that everyone understands at home that the middle class has been left behind in the last 7 years of the Obama economy. And we've got to bring jobs back. We've got to get people back to work. We've got to get wages going up again. We've got to get people moving from part-time work to full-time work. We all agree on that, but it's not going to be solved with magic pixie dust. It's not just going to be solved by declaring into the air, let there be jobs. We actually have to understand the principles that made America great in the first place. Now, where do you get economic growth? If you look at cause and effect over our nation's history, every time we lessen the burden of Washington on small business owners, on job creators, we see incredible economic growth. You do that through tax reform and regulatory reform. My tax plan, typical family of four, first $36,000 you earn, you pay nothing in taxes. No income taxes, no payroll taxes, no nothing. Above 10%, everyone pays the same simple, flat 10% income rate. It's flat and fair. You can fill out your taxes on a postcard, and we abolish the IRS. And if you want to see the postcard, I've got it on my website.
Right. But to the question, because conservatives have flirted with this idea conceptually for a long time, but especially on this consumption value-added tax system in Europe, where it exists, It has become an escalator of taxation to feed government spending. And that's why conservatives have long resisted it. Why? And what would you do as president to make sure that doesn't happen?
So, Major, the business flat tax that is in my tax plan is not a VAT. A VAT in Europe is a sales tax. The business flat tax is not a sales tax. It is a tax of 16% opposed fairly and evenly across the board on all businesses. And one of the things that's critical is we're doing that in conjunction with abolishing the corporate income tax, with abolishing the Obamacare taxes, with abolishing the payroll taxes, which are the biggest taxes paid by most working Americans, and with abolishing the death tax, which is cruel and unfair. And you asked about economic growth. The Nonpartisan Tax Foundation estimated that the Cruz Simple Flat Tax would produce 4.9 million new jobs, would increase capital investment by 44%, and would lift everyone's incomes by double digits. That's how you turn the country around, not just hoping and praying for it, but implementing policies that work.
Okay. I have a question, a related tax question for Senator Rubio. Senator Rubio, you have the highest tax rate of anyone up on the stage in terms of the top tax rate, 35%, which some economists say would limit its potential to boost economic growth. You do that so that you will have more revenue to pay for a tripling of the child tax credit. Normally, it's liberals who like to use the tax code to influence social policy. Why should conservatives want a tax plan that adopts the other side's approach?
Well, because I'm not influencing social policy. This is their money. This is the money of parents. You don't earn the tax credit unless you're working. That's your money. It doesn't belong to the government. And here's what I don't understand. If a business takes their money and they invest it in a piece of equipment, they get to write it off their taxes. But if a parent takes money that they have earned through work and invests it in their children, they don't. This makes no sense. Parenting is the most important job any of us will ever have. Family formation is the most important institution in society. And so what my tax plan does is it does create, especially for working families, an additional child tax credit so that parents who are working get to keep more of their own money, not the government's money, to invest in their children, to go to school, to go to a private school, to buy a new backpack. Because let me tell you, if you're a parent that's struggling, you know that $50 a month is a difference between a new pair of shoes this month or not getting a new pair of shoes for your kids. I'm going to have a tax plan that is pro-family because the family is the most important institution in society. You cannot have a strong country without strong families.
Governor Kasich, this goes to the size of government. In 2013, you pushed through a Medicaid reform in your state over the objections of many of the Republicans in your state. Total enrollment and overall costs of that program have gone well beyond what anyone had expected, including yourself. How can you argue that this overall growth fits in with conservative ambitions to significantly cut back on the size of federal welfare programs?
Well, first of all, those numbers are incorrect. Our Medicaid programs are coming in below cost estimates, and our Medicaid program in the second year grew at 2.5%. And Kimberly, let me tell you, when we expand Medicaid and we treat the mentally ill, then they don't live under a bridge or live in a prison where they cost $22,500 a year. When we take the drug addicted and we treat them in the prisons, we stop the revolving door of people in and out of prisons, and we save $22,500 a year. Guess what else? They get their lives back. And the working poor, they're now getting health care. And you know that about a third of the people who are now getting that health care are people who are suffering very serious illnesses, particularly cancer. So what I would tell you is we've gone from an $8 billion hole to a $2 billion surplus. We've cut taxes by more than any governor in America by $5 billion. We have grown the number of jobs by 400,000 private sector jobs since I've been governor. Our credit is strong, our pensions are strong, and frankly, we leave no one behind. Economic growth is not an end unto itself. We want everyone to rise, and we will make them personally responsible for the help that they get. And that is exactly the program we're driving in Ohio. And boy, people ought to look at Ohio because it's got the good formula.
Governor Bush, I've got a question for you, but you want to jump in. So please.
Can I
jump in, and then I've got a question for you.
Look, I admire the fact that Governor Kasich is supporting spending more money on drug treatment and mental health. I think that's a high priority all across this country. But expanding Obamacare is what we're talking about. And Obamacare's expansion, even though the federal government is paying for the great majority of it, is creating further debt. on the backs of our children and grandchildren. We should be fighting Obamacare, repealing Obamacare, replacing it with something totally different. When I was as a private citizen, Florida was confronted with this choice. The governor was supportive of doing what John did. So was the Florida Senate. A committed Speaker of the House asked me to go as a private citizen to make the case against the expansion. I did, and it wasn't expanded there, just as it wasn't expanded in South Carolina under Governor Haley.
Real quickly, jump in.
Yeah,
I got a question for Governor Bush, but jump in.
First of all, when Jeb was governor, his first 4 years as governor, his Medicaid program grew twice as fast as mine, okay? It's just a fact. Now, with Obamacare, I've not only sued the administration, I did not set up an exchange, and he knows that I'm not for Obamacare, never have been. But here's interesting about Medicaid. You know who expanded Medicaid 5 times to try to help the folks and give them opportunities so they could rise and get a job? President Ronald Reagan. Now, the fact of the matter is we expanded to get people on their feet, and once they're on their feet, we are giving them the training and the efforts that they need to be able to get work and pull out of that situation.
So
that's what we're doing in our state.
South Carolinians need to know this because the Cato Institute, which grades governors based on their spending, rank him right at the bottom.
Governor Bush, fine.
And Governor Haley's ranked at the top.
Let me get a question to you on that.
I understand. Let me finish this.
Wait. Hold on, Major.
South Carolinians want to make sure that they elect the most conservative governor or candidate that can win.
Let me just tell you.
A question on economic growth, Governor Bush.
Major, I got to correct the record. And the fact of the matter is, we went from an $8 billion hole to a $2 billion surplus. We're up 400,000 jobs. Our credit is rock solid. And I don't know, look, the bottom line is the people of this country and this state want to see everybody rise, and they want to see unity, and I don't want to get into all this fighting tonight because these people are frankly sick of the negative campaigning, and I'm going to stay positive about what I want to do.
From the perspective of economic growth, viewed from the perspective of economic growth, you have proposed a tax on hedge fund managers. The Americans for Tax Reform, a conservative tax group you're probably aware of, has said no Republican should be for higher taxes on capital gains. And many conservatives wonder if this proposal of yours would undermine not only that philosophy, but undercut your projection of 4% economic growth annually under your presidency.
Of course not. It won't have an impact on hedge fund managers paying ordinary income. In fact, it's not just hedge fund people, but people that they're in the business of investing other people's money, getting capital gains treatment is not appropriate. They should be paying ordinary income. That's their business. They're grateful to be able to make a lot of money, I'm sure. And what we do is lower the rates. It's not the end of the world that private equity people and hedge fund folks that are right now getting capital gains treatment for the income they earn pay ordinary income like everybody else in this room. That's not a problem at all. What we need to do is to reform the tax code, to simplify the rates, to shift power away from Washington, D.C. That's what I did as governor of the state of Florida, $19 billion of tax cuts, and it stimulated 7 out of the 8 years. Florida led the nation in job growth.
Very good. Dr. Carson, before we go to break, could you give us your sense of this conversation about either Medicaid or economic growth through taxation?
Well, first of all, let me just mention on the tax issue, bencarson.com, go read about it, because my tax plan has been praised by Cato, by Wall Street Journal. Forbes said it is the best, the most pro-growth tax plan. And it's based on real fairness for everybody. Starts at the 150% poverty level. But even the people below that have to pay something because everybody has to have skin in the game. And millions of people can't, talk about what other people have to pay and have no skin in the game. And it deals with the corporate tax rate. It makes it the same as everybody else. Everybody pays exactly the same. And as far as Medicare and Medicaid, my main goal is to get rid of Obamacare and put the care back in the hands of patients.
Thank you very much. Dr. Carson, I'm sorry we have to go to a commercial. The free market wants what it wants. Back soon to the 2016 Republican debate in Greenville, South Carolina.